India just raised over 1.7 lakh crores via IPO in FY 2025. I'm not sure if all the investors made money out of this, but I'm 100% sure that one party did make money out of all of these IPOs, and that is investment banks. Every IPO that we have seen from Lenskart to Tata Capital had a BRLM, that is book running lead manager, guiding the entire process. In this video, we are going to break down the 9 to 12 month journey of an IPO process, understanding how companies go public and how investment banks play a central role in this entire process. Hello there, my name is Karan Damania. I am an ex-investment banker turned founder, and through Encoding Careers, we help you build successful career in finance. So let's get onto the screen and understand this IPO process step by step. Alright, so let's start understanding the IPO process. Through this entire timeline, we are going to understand what really happens before the company rings bell at any stock exchange. So let's start with the step number 1 in this entire process, which is going on from month 0 to month 4. Now in this step number 1, we are looking from the perspective of the client who is going for an IPO. So they are going to appoint investment bankers and other parties. First of all, an investment banker will be onboarded who will be completing the entire execution part of the IPO. So here a mandate, that is an agreement, is signed between the company and the lead bankers. Here what happens is investment banker keep on reaching out to companies for taking their company public, so that they also get business and the company also gets funding from investors. Now in this case, investment bankers might have reached out to a particular client, or client would also reach out to investment bankers for going public. Now the deal works both the ways, so whatever we want to assume, we can assume. So when they finalize that this will be an investment banker who will be running the entire IPO process, then an agreement is signed, which is also termed as mandate, between the client and the lead banker. For an IPO process, there are a lot of investment bankers involved, but it is not necessary that all of them would be lead bankers. Now the lead bankers are the ones who are going to be there with the companies in other processes, rather than just focusing on getting investment and completing the IPO, which we will understand later, like what are the roles and responsibility that investment bankers perform. So a mandate is signed with between lead bankers and the company. Now here, what is the purpose of hiring an investment bankers or merchant bankers, underwriters? These are the terms that are used for people who are hired for IPO process. Now they are hired to structure, price and market the issue, essentially owning the success of fundraising and investor participation. Now whenever a company wants to go for an IPO, they want to make sure that the price that their company gets for the shares that they are going to list is going to be appropriate. They are not listing at undervaluation, and the price that is going to be set is done by investment banker. So that is termed as marketing the issue, essentially owning the. So when the issue is fully subscribed, that means that the work of investment banker is done. They have successfully gotten investor participation and the fundraise is successful. So that is work of an investment banker. The BRLM or the issuer brings in lawyers, auditors and compliance team. Now it is not going to be like that an investment banker is hired and they are immediately going to start the IPO process, finalizing the share price on which we are listing and then reaching out to investors. That is not how the entire process works. First, there has to be a lot of work done on setting the company ready for IPO. So here auditors, compliance team, lawyers are going to come in, and let's see what each one of them performs. So when we talk about lawyers, it is very important to ensure legal compliance, drafting DRHP and disclosures are handled. So when a company wants to go for an IPO, they are going to raise funds from public, and when we talk about raising funds from public, there are a lot of legalities and compliances that the company has to fulfill to go and raise funds from them. So that is where when lawyers are hired, they will see if the company has all of those criteria matching, if there are any compliance side that the company is not yet fulfilling, then they will try to file those documents and then fulfill those compliances. So that is work of an lawyers. They also help in drafting the DRHP, which we will see in the coming steps, like filing the DRHP is a start to end process. Then auditors. Now when we talk about going and doing an IPO, your financial statements should be up to the mark, and here auditors are very, very important because they are the ones who are going to audit the entire financial statement and then restate and certify that these are created as per the norms of SEBI. So SEBI is a regulatory board who is going to look out for this entire process of IPO, and they are the ones who will approve it, and then only company can go ahead and list their shares on the stock exchange. So the auditors, here would be any big four company or any CA firm who is going to certify and restate financials as per SEBI norm. And a lot of times the investment bankers are going to get involved in this entire IPO process like one financial year earlier when the company wants to go for an IPO. So let's assume that the company wants to go for an IPO in FY27. So in FY26 an investment banker would be hired, and here a lot of things are done in the financial statement that makes the company look good. So investment bankers are some of the smartest people that work in this entire finance industry, and they know what will get most interest from the investors, and basis that they entirely create the financial statement. So it's not like they are doing anything illegal, but they find these loops, and they are very apt with all of these financial accounting standards, and making sure that the company comes out as someone very profitable and it looks good in the eyes of investors. So that is also work of an investment banker, so which is done alongside the auditors, and basis that the entire financial statements are created. Now but a lot of things have to be given out openly in the DRHP that is filed, and there if people give time reading it, they will understand how the entire financials are created and what goes behind it. So that is a separate thing, but yeah, just wanted to let you know that investment bankers do work on the financials, and they iterate it to a level that it becomes good for the eyes of investors. So yeah, now we talk about the compliance team. Now, compliance team are the people who are company secretary and secretaries, and they handle the filing process, governance process, and listing requirements. So whatever documentation has to be done on the side of compliance side, that is all handled by the compliance team, which is also which also comes under some of the CA firms that give this service of IPO process, or consulting firms that do these IPO processes. Then we have registrar or the RTA, who handles the entire IPO application, allotment, and investor records. So when a company goes for an IPO, they have to issue more shares, and there are application wise bidding that is done for those shares. So registrars have these softwares which helps in this entire application, allotment, and investor record process. So if I am applying for an IPO, the registrar is going to note my IPO application. If I get an allotment, then allotting of these shares is also done by this registrar, and they maintain the entire records that who are currently the investors in this company, because all of the shares are getting transferred through them. Registrar could be anyone like KFinTech, CAMS, right? So these are some of the registrars which handle IPO applications and the allotment. Then finally, PR or investor relation firm. Now PR firms are the ones who are going to communicate the entire IPO launch. So when we see newspapers like financial newspaper, there are headlines and the cover page is filled with IPOs. Now that is done by these PR teams. They are the ones who are going to communicate these IPOs. There are a lot of hoardings that are put out in the tier 1 cities, so that people look at it and then apply for these IPOs. So all the marketing process is done by this PR team, and there is an investor relation team as well. So these investor relation teams are a part of investment bank. Like PR team is a separate agency, but when we talk about investor relation, it becomes part of an investment bank, where they are reaching out to the investors in their database and then sharing details about the IPO, sharing the DRHPs, so that they look at it and make decision of investing. So these are the people that the BRLMs, who is the book running lead manager or the investment bank, would bring into this entire IPO process. Or these parties can also be brought in by the issuer who is going for an IPO. So it depends, like not all the issuers will have connects with all of these firms, and investment bankers are the ones who are continuously working on these kind of IPOs. So they have relation with lawyers, auditors, compliance people, PR teams. So it depends, like how they want to go ahead with the process. So that way, in step number 1, we saw that a mandate is signed between the company going for an IPO, investment banker, and then all of these people are brought in and they start working on their respective work roles that we discussed as of now. Then we are on step number 2. That also happens in month 0 to 4, where we are going to register for an IPO. So here it is going to be the foundation of launching an IPO, where bankers are starting to work upon DRHP preparation. Now DRHP is draft red hearing prospectus, which includes a lot of information about the company. So we are going to see a firm which is Reds here, who helps a lot of companies go for IPOs. So yeah, we are going to go on to this link, and so these are strategy consultants who help companies when they are going for an IPO. So Reds here helped LG Electronics in their entire IPO process. They also helped Urban Company, then Bluestone. So if you look into the LG, let's go on to the website. Here we have gotten that it's support to its IPO through comprehensive market study. Now, why market study is important, and consultants are very good in doing market study. So entire DRHP includes a lot of sections, and in that DRHP there is a section detailed about market research and how is the landscape looking like. So it is going to be very time consuming for the company investment or the investment bank to start doing this market research, and since consultants are the one who are expertise in that, it is very appropriate to give this entire process outsourced to them. So they do all the market study and give the data to the company who is going for an IPO. So you can read this. We are going to attach this entire presentation at the in the link in the description, and you can download it via it and then visit the website. So Reds here is one of the consulting firm that works upon creation of DRHPs. So what happens on the investment banking side? So investment bankers have to submit to ROC at least 3 days before the offer is open to the public for bidding. Now DRHP is submitted a lot earlier, but when we talk about RHP, which is final red hearing prospectus, that has to be submitted 3 days before the IPO is opened. Then final prospectus to both ROC and SEBI after bidding closes, and here the DRHP is 400 pages of disclosure. So if we want to look at any DRHP, let's open up we have this LG's DRHP with us. So let's look into it, how this entire DRHP is structured. So for that, we have these all sections that a DRHP covers: definitions, risk factors, use of proceeds, industry description, business description, management, financial information, legal disclosures. So when we looked at the earlier slide of all of these parties, lot of information from these parties come, and that is added to DRHP. So lawyers, when we talked about lawyers, they were working upon compliances, and that comes as a part of legal disclosures, and auditors work upon financial statement, that comes into the picture. Then the compliance team is filing all of the things, so that can also be added to DRHP. So see here we have industry description that is worked by the consulting firm which we saw in the previous slide. Reds here is working upon it, right? So a lot of parties work upon each element of DRHP, and then it is combined into one, and then the investment bankers file it to SEBI and ROC for the bidding process. So we have opened up the LG's DRHP over here, and if we go to the top, we have all of the information over here. Who are the book running lead managers, the investment bankers involved? So Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, Axis Capital, Bank of America Securities, Citibank. So all of these top investment banks are involved in this LG IPO. Then we have the type of IPO, which is offer for sale. So LG is the current promoters of LG are going to exit the company, and they are going to sell their shares to someone coming from the outside. So we have all the information about that as well in the coming section. So this is the table of contents which is very, very important. The general thing is going to be same for all the DRHPs, and it has definition, abbreviation, statement, looking forward statements, and market data, some of the market data. How is it curated? So all those information are going to be same. Then most important part is risk factors, which is given by the management of the company as to what are the risk factors. Investment bankers also give their input on these risk factors, and when someone is looking to apply for the IPO, they have to go through these risk factors and the financial information, so that they understand if the company is going to do good and how the landscape looks like. So but it becomes very difficult to go through the entire entire DRHP, because it's 400 pages. So you can take use of any tool, AI tools to summarize upon things, and then it might become easy to make decisions. So this is just for educational purpose. No recommendation from our side to buy or sell any particular stock. So the sections covered are about the company financial information. So going down, you will find all the information to understand about the company, to understand about the landscape. Here we have all the charts and graphs, which would have been analyzed by rates here. So they are analyzing the entire market landscape. So industry overview is done by them. So how is the entire landscape looking like? Share of household by annual income. So these all study is done by the consultants. They are going to provide it to investment bank. Investment bank will have a look to it. If it looks fine, then they will add it to DRHP. So here there's a study of market sizing, right? Then financial information is curated by the auditor. So we have financial information, which is section number 5, which includes all the information as per SEBI's mandate. How is it needed to be filed? So that all things are covered over here, and along with notes and footnotes, so people can go through these things. So coming back to our presentation, that way the entire DRHP is curated from all the parties. Information is collected, and it takes around 0 to 4 months. So because there is a lot of information that has to be curated, and a lot of back and forth is done, and that way the step number 2 gets completed. Then comes the step number 3, which is filing the DRHP, which takes place between month number 4 to 5, and then there is a cool off period where company has to wait and see how the process is going on. So here now transparency is no longer optional, it's mandatory. So when the entire creation of DRHP goes on, that at that time no one has access to the process or the information that is being curated into DRHP. But once it gets filed to SEBI and ROC, it is available for all the people to have a look, and they can analyze the company, they can go through the risk factors, the financial information, and then make a decision if they want to apply for the IPO or not. So DRHP is submitted to SEBI. It marks the start of regulatory review phase. SEBI closes scrutinizes the facts, figures, and disclosures made by the company. So once it is filed, the data becomes public, as we discussed earlier. All the analysts, investors, media can begin evaluating the business. Now the most important thing in this slide is to understand that SEBI is going to scrutinize the entire DRHP that we have filed as an investment banker to them. So here a lot of questions can come up related to the defaults, related to risk factors, how are they going to overcome, and management and investment bankers have to be very apt with the answers that they are going to give to SEBI, because basis that the SEBI will make decision as to if IPO should be approved or not. So that is also work of an investment bankers. They go for these regulatory meetings and help the clients to get all of these questions answered. So that is step number 3, which is filing the DRHP, and then cool off period where SEBI is scrutinizing all of the things and giving questions. So now comes the step number 4, which takes place from month 5 to month 8, where regulatory review is going on. So this is going to be most crucial phase. So as discussed earlier, that SEBI in phase step number 3 is analyzing and scrutinizing things. Now this is where credibility and compliance are tested. So SEBI and exchanges review disclosure in depth. So questions on financial governance, customer concentration. So as discussed, that a single default like rupees 30 lakh can trigger major questions like why was this defaulted, then what were the consequences of it, did it lead to degrading of the company's credit ratings or so. So those are kind of questions that SEBI is going to rigor upon, and the company has to have lot of detailed answers for this. So IBs, lawyers, CFOs coordinate to prepare and all the detailed responses. Now once all of these scrutiny and clarity is given to SEBI, the next step is to apply to specific stock exchange where they want to list after the IPO. So in India, most of the IPOs go for NSE and BSE, which are the most liquid stock exchanges, and there they can list their IPOs. So the company must meet the eligibility criteria set by the exchange. The application includes detail of proposed size of the issue, number of shares to be offered, price band, and expected timelines. Most of the time the timeline of an IPO is like a 1 week. There are 3 to 4 days of applying for the IPO, then the IPO, then the allotment is given, and then shares are credited. So it takes around a week's time, and then on the 10th day the shares are allotted, so which we are going to see in the next slide. So most important thing to understand over here is, while giving out DRHPs to SEBI and exchanges, the company has not yet decided that they want to list on NSE or BSE. Now after they get approval, they are going to decide whether they want to list and do the entire event of IPO or at NSE, or they want to go to the BSE to for their entire IPO launch event. That is decided by the company, and then all the details are shared with the particular stock exchange, and the next process starts. So until now the DRHP has been filed to SEBI, it has been filed to exchanges, but yet the price band of the IPO has to be decided, because yet the company does not know how much investors are willing to value this entire IPO. So that's where the entire step number 5 will come into the picture, where we are going to create a buzz around our IPO, and the investor relation team will start acting upon it. So the DRHPs will be sent to the investors that are there in the network, and that's where marketing and roadshows will start. So here now the investment bankers are going to tell the company story to investors. So bankers now become the salesperson selling trust, not just share. That this company that you are going to invest is going to be the next multi-bagger for you, and that is where investors are going to get invested into this IPO. So now what happens is investment bankers meet institutional and do retail investor promotions, where they are targeting both domestic and foreign investors, so that the entire IPO size is filled up by by the investments. Now the final price band is decided based upon demand and market feedback. So in the DRHP, the price of the IPO is not given, and when the DRHP are sent out to investors, the investment bankers are going to have a conversation with the institutional and global investors, and have a discussion as to what will be the valuation that they would be open to give to this company, and they are going to understand like what is the price at which the investors are willing to make a bet on the IPO. So when they talk to a lot of investors, they get a range as to this is the valuation that the company can get, and basis that they are continuously refining the positioning and the valuation as an how they get the inputs. For some investors, they might reach out with a higher valuation price band, see how the response is coming. Some investors, they might reach out with a lower valuation price band. So that is where they get a midpoint, and on that price the valuation is finalized. So companies need to ensure that the IPO is a big ticket event. Investment bankers and underwriters hired by business get into action. So these were some of the lead managers, right? Morgan Stanley to Citibank. So when we come down to DRHP, here we can find the statement of inter-allocation of responsibility between the BRLMs. So here we can see how they have distributed responsibility amongst each other. So the capital structuring with relative to components and formalities such as type of instruments, size of issue is between primary secondary is done by Morgan Stanley. Then due diligence of operation management is handled by Access. Then drafting and designing of DRHP by Access. Then positioning, strategy, drafting, business section, Morgan Stanley. Then DR industry section by JP Morgan. Then all statutory advertisement access. Then drafting and approval of publicity material is done by Citi. Then appointment of intermediaries, registrar, advertising agencies, sponsor banks is by JP Morgan. So these sponsor banks are someone who are going to help in the entire underwriting process. Preparation of roadshow material, this is also by Morgan Stanley. Then marketing strategies, finalizing division of one-on-one meetings. So all of that is handled by Morgan Stanley, because they would have been the ones who got the lead, and then they would have reached out to other bankers for these division of work on the IPO. Then we have domestic institutional marketing, the offer. So marketing strategy, finalizing listing, finalizing roadshow, investor meeting schedule is by JP Morgan. So when this marketing is done, they will get an idea as to how much is the price that investors are willing to pay upon, and that is how the entire price band is decided. So that is distribution of work between the investment bankers. So the entire marketing is part of creating a buzz. Then the final 2 points are roadshows are used to convince investors about the potential of the company. The teams responsible for roadshows also meet with business analysts and fund managers. So mutual funds are also allowed to take part into this IPO. So that is where they are going to meet this analysts and fund managers to get participation of them. So that is step number 5. So here, as we saw in the responsibilities, that a list has to be created as to how much interest is coming from these investors, and basis that the allocation is then done when the bidding process starts. The final process, step number 6, which takes place in the month 9 to 10, where the bidding period starts, the DRHP, which is the final prospector, is submitted, and then the allotment takes place. Now the company is going to go from the valuation process of understanding the pricing and everything to the trading floor. So months of hard work is now culminating into one market opening movement, which takes place on the listing day. So now the final price band has been decided based on demand and market feedback. RHP has to be filed before the launch. So this we saw in the first slide itself, that RHP has to be filed with all of the inputs, price of the issue, size of the issue, and other information, which will go to the SEBI and ROC itself. Now, since all the process is set, the window for applying for IPOs opens up. This is going to be the testing phase where the company, investment bankers, and all the parties involved in the IPO are going to look at the subscription that the client is getting on this IPO. Now, this entire process is handled by RTAs, which we understood earlier that they are registered transfer agencies who are going to collect the bids. So the underwriter collects and aggregates the bid. Once the offer period closes, the final IPO shares is set based on demand. So there was a price band that was decided, right? So it could be, it has to be in the 20% range. And when you apply for an IPO, you get a price at which you want to apply the IPO. So that the most applications at a particular price will be decided as the final allocation price. So if the IPO price band is 1000 to 1050 at this, and most applications come at 1040, then the allotment of the shares to the investors will be done at 1040, and that is going to be the price at which the investors will get credited, the shares credited in their account. And whatever the listing price would be will be decided based upon how much up is it going from 1040 and how much low is it going from that. So the IPO shares are allotted to bidders within 10 days of the listing of last date of bidding. Most of the time it gets allocated earlier, and now the process has gotten very fast. So the bell rings and the shares get listed on the stock exchange. Once the shares are credited into the account of investors, they are then listed on the stock exchange, and then the trading in the shares start. So that is how the entire IPO process takes place. The final thing that we are going to highlight over here is the registrar, which we have taken as an example is SAGRTA. So here we can see that they provide services of security transfer, revalidation of dividend, share transfer certificates, which is needed for IPO. So in IPO, the shares are transferred. So from the promoter who was selling in the case of ILG, they are getting transferred to the investor who are applying for the bids. So that is entirely handled by SAGRTA, and here they have different technology products that they use to work upon this entire process. So that is how RTAs work upon this, and the shares get allocated to investors, and the entire IPO process is facilitated. So the next time when you see company announcing its IPO, remember it's not just a listing. It's a detailed process by bankers, regulators, lawyers, and auditors that goes behind it. If you are someone who wants to understand about investment banking and want to build career in it, then check out our 2-hour free investment banking masterclass via link in the description below. So that is it for this video. Until then, this is Karan Damania taking your leave.